Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully you all are doing really well and had a fantastic ride. I mean, oh my God, I know that I just did. I have been thanking on that bike. So first and foremost, today's ride was super light. It was another beginner's ride. It was actually doing a little bit of hill work, but it wasn't too intensive. It was 20 minutes, five of which again was warm up, and I felt really strong in the saddle. We still haven't gotten out of the saddle in our Peloton rides yet, so it's been an adjustment, but I've been working with it. And today's instructor was very engaging, very demure, very mindful. So it was easy to follow him and to just kind of roll with the instructions, ride with the beat of the music. If anything, I was going a little bit too fast compared to how the cadence was set up and pushing a little bit harder than the resistance was required for the course. I tried to keep it just at the very top of the range and not go beyond that. But especially with cadence, it's a little bit more hard to control without also increasing the resistance to slow down the legs. And my leg muscles apparently wanted to make their debut today. So I felt a lot stronger in the hills, and I felt a lot stronger in my endurance as well. So, such a good feeling. And I hope that as you're progressing in your rides, you're feeling similarly. Now, today's conversation, I really want it to center around the idea of body image and thinking about the before and after. So that's what today's message is really going to be touching on. Now, I don't know about you all, but one of the things that I was most nervous about when I was just a girl, when I did not have a child, wasn't thinking about a child because I wasn't pregnant and I didn't have any plans on being pregnant. And I was keeping everything locked up, stocked up, and put away so that I couldn't get pregnant, right? I was doing everything in my power to maintain a sense of self that was largely connected to a body image. And unfortunately, in my case, and I know in a lot of other women's cases, that body image wasn't always the strongest. Um, and in my case, it was pretty fragile. I was about the weight that I am now when I was in college, a bit heavier actually, at certain points. And I was a similar size in clothing. I was built similarly, but I hated the body I was in. I felt like I was massive. I felt unattractive. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was so much more active and physically fit than my body appeared to be. And so it was really frustrating to be stuck in a body that didn't exude the image, right? That didn't portray or project the image that I wanted to be able to share with the world about how I felt inside, about my endurance, about my performance capacities, especially as an athlete, right? I was playing volleyball almost every day. And I was playing in and out of the season, at least 2 seasons out of the year. And I cross trained. So failing just made no sense to me. I didn't understand why my body was doing what it was doing. I was eating a standard American diet at one point in that journey. And I start to realize that I was just working against myself in so many ways. But what didn't dawn on me was that my body image itself was not what it could have been, wasn't serving me, and honestly, not becoming a mother, not becoming pregnant, although very healthy for me in that time, and I don't regret it. Um, it wasn't the protective measure that I thought it was. In a lot of ways, it was a bit of a facade or a veil that allowed me to pretend that I felt really good about my journey and how I was doing, and that I was keeping myself preserved in this particular way where my physical being didn't expand beyond what I could personally handle in that moment, that I felt like I had control and a say over my body and that no other being could interfere, intervene. And that was important to me for a lot of reasons as a survivor and just as a person. But it wasn't doing what it could have and should have been doing for me in terms of my body image. And I say that because between the ages of perhaps, 19 to, let's say 24, I really felt like I had to work every day to earn the right to feel as good about my body as I could. In other words, I couldn't just wake up and feel like shit and still love myself. I couldn't wake up and feel like my life wasn't going the way that I wanted it to, and also feel like my body was worthy. I couldn't wake up and, be sick knowing that I couldn't teach a class, or be sick and know that I couldn't ride my bike to work. And so I would have to stay in and feel like my body was valuable in the state of rest, in the state of recovery, in the state of not doing, not serving. And I know that that's a really tricky thing to say because service is so important. And I'm in no ways belittling the value of service. Quite to the contrary. What I'm suggesting is my value was caught up in my ability to deliver in a given moment in time. And that was unhelpful and harmful even to me and the people that I would serve. I found myself working myself to the bone. I found myself spiraling towards feeling like small enough wasn't enough. It's not something that I've really talked about publicly, but there was a point at which I went from wearing like a dress size 6 to being able to to zip up a dress size 2 in like a month. And just thinking about that is upsetting because it's not something that I've shared. But it was important to be able to share then. And I think it's especially important to be able to share now, especially as I'm on this postpartum healing journey and thinking about things not just in terms of body shape, body size, and a feeling of usefulness, a feeling of identity that can be wrapped up in my body, but respecting and understanding the wrapping that is my body, accepting and appreciating as it is so that it can become what it may become based on what it is that I choose to do, based on what it is that I choose to love about it, based on how I choose to dress it up or dress it down, because this body belongs with me. It's not something outside of me. It's not something that someone else can take from me, but it's not all that I am either. And recognizing that has been key in this journey of my postpartum period. Now, first and foremost, during my pregnancy, I was especially afraid to exercise. I was afraid to exercise because I was vegan, because I didn't know any other vegans who were vegan as long as I was and had children in real life. I didn't know how to maintain the appropriate weight gain versus weight loss. And the one thing that I was certain of was that the little person who I was growing in my body deserved every chance to have every nutrient and everything that she could possibly need from the moment that I knew she was there and knew that she was going to be coming into this world through my body. When I made that decision to be her portal into this world, and to travel the journey of pregnancy together, that was when I knew that I needed to be able to carry her well, to carry her without sickness, to give her the best opportunity possible. And so when I hit high blood pressure for like a week, where I just like kind of got blurry vision and was like on the border of preeclampsia based on my personal metrics, I realized that I needed to completely just control what I could control and take a fully relaxed approach to the pregnancy so that I wouldn't spike hypertensive moments and I wouldn't risk our lives. So I became a avid drinker of coconut water. I became a no nonsense. I ain't taking anybody. I don't have the time for it because I could die and so could this baby. And we're not doing that today. And either you could deal with it or not. But it was a really eye opening time and a tough time for a lot of reasons. That being one of the chief among them, but not the only reason. Um, and throughout that process, finding the space to hold on to myself, to practice holding on to my daughter, to practice giving us the space to become whatever it is that we would become within this body that was now becoming our world, right? Becoming a globe, a space where we both were inhabiting, to coming to that place where we entered the delivery, right? Where the door between those worlds began to open and the separation came and my daughter entered the world and my body began to close its doors, right? And the healing process began with the rending, literally, of my insides as my body came into the space where we were laboring and delivering a human being, passing out the placenta and really transitioning into this postpartum period where there were wounds, there were stitches, there were medications to wear off, there was soreness and tearing and so much that I couldn't have predicted because I didn't know exactly how labor and delivery was going to go for me. In my case, super quick, but just as traumatic as any other birth in the sense that we still had some healing to do, even if it had gone even more perfectly than that. And God knows I am grateful for how well it went. But we started to enter into a new before period, right? In this postpartum world. I thought my before was, when I was 196 in college, horrible acne, feeling terrible about myself, and not at all trusting myself beyond the fact that I knew I needed to go plant-based. I knew that veganism really mattered to me. And I knew that health and fitness was how I could start to get my body to where I wanted it to be. So I went from that to being 216 pounds because there was a human being inside of me, fluids and hormone fluctuations and an increase in appetite and breast milk that I was producing and on, right? And so I was at this new beginning. And as I was in this new beginning, I tried my absolute best to think of this before period in postpartum as a lifelong after. And that's really what I want to talk about moving forward, is what that lifelong after looks like. Because the before and after is not, I had the baby and now the baby's out of me, so I get to snatch my body back. I get snatched, right? To get that 26-inch waist I never had, right? To get those legs into, the skinny jeans that I never wore, to wear leather pants. God knows, again, vegan, I didn't wear any leather pants. I was given some leather pants, but I could never fit those things, right? Like all of that is in a before space that just doesn't exist anymore. It just isn't a part of my future. It's not a contextual piece of my story because the before is from that postpartum period and or from that, labor and delivery period and before. The after is from that labor and delivery period and after. So who I am, how I shape myself, what it is that I want to do with my body, and how I create space for my body, and how I receive the image of my body has everything to do with what I decide to do now in this after space that extends until I end, honestly. And even if I were to give birth again, it would be a new after, right? A new body that is new because it has the cells of a baby in it for years, right? I'm going to be in postpartum period. We know now that the postpartum period is not 6 months. It's not 6 weeks. It's a year to 2 years to 7 years, depending on who you ask. And I can deeply appreciate the fact that at that 7 year mark, I could be a new person who's healthier, happier, heartier than I ever was before I had a baby, to the point where what's the reason to compare? I can appreciate and love the body that carried me to the place where I could carry my child, and love that body the same no matter what happens in this after period. So when I'm thinking about this postpartum period, and I'm thinking about the amazing women who are already following this channel, the amazing women who I personally know are out there giving the gift of motherhood to their families, giving the gift of motherhood to the loved ones and to their friends. Um, to the women who are out there creating space for other women to find their identity and to find their power, to find their financial freedom, their liberation, both spiritually and romantically and sexually and physically. All of you women, no matter what stage you're in, you're already, thank goodness, in that after. Our after does not have an end. It begins the moment that we accept who we are and who we've become. And we get to do that as many times as our body requires. And what a mystical, miraculous way to be. What an open and unbelievably just gratifying way to be. To be bolstered up by pillars of gratitude with each breath, literally. To feel ourselves become more upright and more confident and more sure of ourselves with each decision that we make that says, yes, this is my after. No matter what the scale says, no matter what the measuring tape says, no matter how many units of wattage your bike may have obtained during your last ride, or whether you missed a ride, whether you haven't started working out yet. Because let me tell you something, a baby is a workout all by itself. So yes, you have. Every time you pick that little bundle of joy up, every time that you shush that crying newborn and rock them to sleep and use those obliques, every time you are in a situation where you're just holding yourself upright, sleep deprived and exhausted, or whether you're adopting a child and they're just entering your life and you're in a different kind of postpartum because you didn't have the whole lead up of maybe the physical, but your brain is changing and it's overloading and it's building synapses, and you're becoming the parent that you have been training to become in your heart, now in your body. Make room for that after. Make room for this body. Make room for your vision, of course, of yourself. But make room for you now. Because the bike will carry you wherever you want it to take you. And that vision you have is going to set your compass. Your North Star is not going to move. You can trust that. And I may post so-called before and after pictures. But one thing I'm promising right now to myself and to the 8 of you who have been so generous to have subscribed and joined me on this journey right now, and to those who will join in the future and watch this very unedited version of this channel, know that those pictures are depicting something that society maybe understands as before and after. But my before and my after, your before and your after, it transcends all of that. Every beginning that we face, no matter what stage in our lives, every after we've crested that beginning and we see the future and we're racing towards the horizon, or we're crawling towards it because we're friggin' exhausted. No matter how we are moving, and no matter how quickly or slowly, that after belongs to us, is defined by us, can be embraced by us. And our before, no matter whether people thought we were healthier, happier, heartier, hotter then, or whether people think we are happier, healthier, heartier, hotter after, does not define how we get to shape that journey. So I really enjoyed today's ride, specifically because that was a meditation that was put on my heart. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please, please, please go ahead and hit the like button. I do meditations, or what you could call messages. I'm going to be posting them at minimum every week, but I have just been so motivated to get out there and to be in your space with you this week. So this will be the second video for the week, but please, please, please do subscribe if you want more content like this. And I will see you real soon in the next video. Bye.